chole on Shabbat. Now we're up to a very interesting halakha that pertains a little bit to what we spoke about yesterday. Something that doesn't actually pertain or prevent any danger. How does it work when breaking Shabbat for it? So we explained this earlier, but we're gonna get into a separate important ramification today as well. Someone who is severely and ill and we're concerned for his life, you're allowed to violate Shabbat for any reason, even if it doesn't prevent or lessen any danger, and it's only to ease his pain, you're allowed to do it, and we should not be machmir for this whatsoever. We spoke about the hospital bed, adjusting the height. If he wants to sit up more, be laid down more. That is mutar to do. If it's possible, Rabbi says, obviously, if you can't do these things beshinui or with two people, it's better to, because you minimize the isur if you do that, but there's no reason to have to search for a second person to do something like this. Now this is where we wanted to get into. Now what happens if someone, a girl, for example, falls on Shabbat, gets a big gash, gets a big cut on her face, now she needs to get surgery. So she needs to do stitches to close the wound, but when doing stitches, there's multiple ways a doctor can do stitches. They can do the bare minimum stitches that'll prevent from any infection, but it'll leave a major scar, or they can add a few more stitches, get a plastic surgeon, do something for cosmetic reason, which is a Isur Shabbat, but it's to prevent her from having a big scar on her face. What's the halacha? A girl who got a big wound on her face, and there's a deep wound that we're concerned that might be sakana. Like I said, it's enough to put 5 stitches, and now she's no longer at risk of infection or any other illness from this wound. She's going to have a big scar that makes her feel very ugly and makes her feel like it's an eyesore when people are looking at her. If you do 7 or 8 stitches, you add a few stitches, the scar won't be as bad in the future when she gets older. The halacha is we can permit the doctor to do the extra stitches, 7, 8, or the plastic surgeon to do the cosmetic with his expertise to prevent scarring on her face. To save her from this big scar and wound on her face that'll embarrass her for the rest of her life. Someone who relies on this has what to rely on. This is Ovadia. Shlight also writes like this and agrees that extra stitches for cosmetic reasons are mutar for someone who gets a big wound, and it's not a problem because while you're doing it already, you can add a little more, and it's not necessarily an issue. It stems from this place, and they can continue and explain. Someone who loses a limb on Shabbat, obviously you do the surgery on Shabbat to save the limb. We spoke about that yesterday, and the idea is we're concerned that of infection. So even though sakanat ever, according to the Rishonim, doesn't justify breaking Shabbat, today it does, because our science and our halakha teaches us that infection is a big risk it can be a big risk of death and can lead to dangerous things. So you're allowed to reattach your limb that was cut off on Shabbat. No one should know. Have a wonderful day.